You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious.
This is a second attempt.
Don, I'm only under tension.
Yeah, because
if you don't speak into the microphone.
Don't you start putting it on me.
So
are you in pain?
Just a minute.
Because your mood is not very good this morning.
We've got the doc coming on from Sydney, Dr. Ben Fordham, MD, managing Don. We think he's so important, we're doing
No, you think he's very important. You've interrupted my cup of coffee so I can get here to interview Ben. I don't know what he's got over you.
Be less interested in whether you've had your coffee interrupted. We think he's so important that we've made him a standalone segment on this.
Oh, really?
And I've just before he comes on, he's going to ring in. He's ringing in from Sydney
He better ring in. Just Are you sure he is?
On the horns of a great rating juggernaut success that he had.
That was 2 weeks ago.
On the horns of, just on the end of it. Oh. And I just want to mention this quickly before he comes on. The refuse or the compost heap that is in residence on Beaconsfield Parade. The woman.
No, please don't talk.
The woman who has taken up residence.
She's no longer there. I haven't seen her.
She's there. She's got a tent now.
Oh, bullshit.
She has a tent.
I came past this morning. I didn't see her.
Well, she must be on holidays in Fitzroy Street or something, or camping somewhere else.
She's got a tent.
She's got a tent. And I'm only going to we just keep going on and on about this. Why the Council of Port Phillip? So
She's
what
like
will end up happening? What will end up happening will be that we'll have a tent city down there before long.
Oh,
people
come
will
on,
think,
don't exaggerate.
Well, why would you allow someone to erect a tent?
Well, the residents have rung up and the council have said they can't do anything about it.
And why can't they?
I don't know. There must be something in the bylaws.
When you say you don't know, this is what happens with a lot of the conversations we have done.
They're learned people. I'm not going to waste my time getting and reading the bylaws for the St Kilda or Bayside Council about people vagrants on the street.
You don't have to read the bylaws. You've got to use some common sense.
No, it's not.
Which is what you do not do a lot of the time. I tell you, this is how we have the arguments about the voice. You say, I don't know any about the voice. And that's exactly why you shouldn't vote for it, because you don't know.
Of course I am. Don't tell me what I can't do and do. I am waiting for information about the voice. And
you've been waiting for 9 months, Don.
I know.
At some stage, how about you get off your ought and go and find out what it's about? This is how we had this conversation last week. I said, what is it about? And you said, well, I don't know really. And I said, I'll tell you what it's about. It's about dividing Australia. And then we had this...
your supposition.
Of course it is.
You've got no fact. Come up with fact about how many people are going to sit on this, how many...
There's a little difference between having facts and an opinion. I gave you a whole lot of facts last week.
No, you didn't.
I gave you a whole lot of facts last week. What do you mean I didn't? I'm telling you I did. I gave you a whole lot of facts last week about who were the original inhabitants of this country. A whole lot of facts about...
No, hang on. You talked about... you went off on another bloody tangent.
I did not.
You did?
I didn't. I told you that the schools are now indoctrinating young kids
about
I
told you that years ago.
The history of Australia.
So you're not telling me anything that's new.
I was telling you facts, Don, and then my opinion is that The Voice is a divisive document. That's my opinion because I've looked into it. I've looked into it and I've read out all the ambered claims the people who are promoting The Voice gave. You provide nothing. You just say, I don't know anything about it. And I'm saying, well, that's why you shouldn't vote for it.
You're an intellectual pygmy.
Don, please. I give you facts.
You just go along with fucking... You think your ideas are the right ideas. You're not a very tolerant man.
Hang on. I go along with who? With whom do I go along with? Hello?
What's that got to do with going along with someone?
You said
you're an intellectual bloody pygmy.
No, Don, I hope you don't.
You sit on your bum and watch CNN every afternoon, and that's where your ideas come from. America
are the most corrupt and disgraceful
the other one,
news.
Fox. You look at Fox every afternoon.
Disgraceful news.
Sitting on your order.
There's a man who's running that country called Joe Biden, who is the most corrupt and dishonest crime lord
Joe Biden.
in modern history.
What about the other
fellow? They don't even mention him.
Shut up. What about the other fellow, Fauci? Is he in a bit of trouble or not?
Fauci?
Yes.
I think that's felching. You've got that mixed up with. Felching is when you put a gerbil up your aort. Felching, that's what felching is. You mean...
How would you know? Did you pick that up at the swingers bar?
You mean Anthony Fauci. Felching is completely different to Mr. Fauci.
Well, so what is the other one?
Felching is when you place a gerbil up your bottom with a view to getting some sexual stimulation, and we've had that. Remember we played Kiki Rosberg or whatever his name was.
Were they doing any of that at the swingers
session,
bar?
I could play that for you. We get a lot of requests to play that again. I've got it on actually repeat on this thing about how the felching session went wrong.
Armageddon or something.
He lit a match to put a tube up his aort to allow the match to see if he could see the rodent, and it ignited a pocket of intestinal gas, and it exploded the rodent out of his arse.
I know what it did. You don't have to tell us.
No,
we had a little gerbil made from us from Hastings Produce.
You
know, with a little gerbil coming out of the...
making gerbils. Don.
Anyway, where we're going with all this shit.
I digress. You say...
We're waiting for Ben Fordham. Were we filling for Ben?
What was that?
Are we filling for Ben?
No, it's a good idea to be on call when he rings in.
Geez, he better ring in. It's 9:29. Oh, here we go. Benny.
Jesus.
Don't blaspheme.
Sue.
God, you can't do anything.
Sue.
No, don't just do it.
Come here. Why aren't we on? Doc, please put it on. Why can't I? Where are we on? Doc. Go on, put it on, Sue. Please. Can you hear me, Doc?
I can't hear the Doc.
Can you hear me, Doc?
Sue?
Oh, where is he? Can you turn his volume up, please?
Sue? Hello, Sue. Where's Sue? Is Don there?
Where is he?
Is Sam there?
Doc.
It's the Doc.
I'm here.
I haven't got him in my earphones.
Really? What number are you?
4.
Well, you should have him.
You don't have me, Don?
You sure you're on 4? Have a look at the number on the...
Why don't you get Rod
Have a look at the number on the earphones. What number is written on them?
Well, this is
there.
Number
4. Look up
5?
the top there. What's that number there?
4.
Do I hear 6?
Well, I don't know why.
Someone got a 7.
Doc, I can just hear you. Doc.
Hello?
Yes, Doc.
Hello, buddy. How are you?
Good. Why does he get very uptight when you're about to come on? Have you got some incriminating photographs or something?
No, it's that feeling when you're getting ready for a big date and you don't really know how it's going to turn out, and you get the kind of butterflies in the stomach, and
he gets more than butterflies in the stomach. He's got shit on his liver.
You speaking about me?
Yes.
What the hell's wrong with you?
As soon as a Doc comes on, you're all in awe of him and whatever else.
Hey, listen.
You sit there on your ass. I'm trying to make this a professional thing so that when he rings in, that we don't hold up the number 1 rating talk man in Australia. We don't hold him up by doing exactly what we did today, not knowing if he's on or not.
Yeah, but boys, it wouldn't be the same if you guys were a professional outfit and everything was just working smoothly. It wouldn't be the same from my point of view. I think part of the charm of this podcast are the rough edges that everyone gets to listen to.
I thought we'd smoothed out all the rough edges. I thought we were very professional.
No, well, Sam got rid of the rough edges. They're no longer part of the podcast.
So he's buggered the podcast, has he, in your opinion?
No.
Girls,
the podcast has never been better. I mean, it's going berserk, and I wear my cap around the place.
What, that freebie we gave you?
Yeah, I didn't pay for mine. The red
I know
one,
you
fantastic.
didn't. You're king of contra.
And guess what? I was buying some flowers for my lovely wife.
Oh, Jody.
And I was wearing the red cap, and this bloke just looked at me. He said, "How are you, Doc?"
Oh, no.
I'm not joking. How are you, Doc?
We've created a monster.
MD, Dr. Ben Fordham, MD, managing Don.
Hey, listen, I've got one for you. Speaking of doctors, there is a report around today that humans are becoming less attractive. According to facial analysis and based on the findings, humans are becoming uglier.
I thought I was getting better with age.
You want to hear? Yeah. And what they say is the average person's face is becoming increasingly disadvantaged by modern diets, sleeping patterns, pollutants, and habits. So there aren't as many attractive people around anymore.
Ooh. That is an absolute given, Doc. If you step out into the public and have a look at the tree swingers who are not long out of the forests, it is extraordinary.
Who are the tree swingers?
The people who are the public, Don. They are the most ugly bunch of people.
Ever listen to fucking Mona Lisa?
Mona
But
Lisa.
also,
no,
you've got to balance. You've got to balance that out with, the likes of Fiona and Sue, because they kind of make up for some of the ugly ducklings out there.
Now, Phoebe is usually in here in a trice. I'm not sure where she is today. Maybe we've become a bit hot for her. I'm not sure about that. Some of the things we said last week, I think she shied away from us.
Here's one as well. Can I tell you, there's some news around about relationships today. Divorces are going through the roof, according to divorce lawyers, and they reckon this is off the back of the COVID pandemic. Lawyers say that during lockdowns and the pandemic, people were giving 150% to their relationships. They've all come out the other side exhausted with nothing left in the tank. So there's a 14% increase in divorces. Almost 60,000 divorces were granted across Australia in 2021, which is when the last numbers came through. And apparently it's going to be even higher next time around, according to divorce lawyers. Have you guys noticed this? People calling it quits and going their separate ways?
Oh, we were ahead of the curve, Doc. We're about 20 or 30 years ahead of the curve, Johnny and I.
I've put the average up. I've put the queue in the rack 3 times as far as marriage goes. But Doc, is it necessary to be married these days? The same financial constraints and legal constraints apply whether you're married or not to a man or a woman, or a man or a man, or a woman or a woman. Is it just a title these days, Doc? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't think people are as worried about getting married as they once were, and a lot of times people are more focused on, can we have the baby? Because if you're a little bit older and you're thinking, okay, the clock is ticking. A lot of people are thinking about, righto, well, let's get the baby sorted and then we can worry about the wedding. And, there are so many women who are freezing their eggs at the moment, and I can understand that because it's an insurance policy. You're thinking, I really want to become a mum, but I haven't met Mr. Right just yet. And there are a lot of blokes out there like Don that aren't just that appealing to a lot of women at the moment. So they think freeze the eggs and you hope to meet a character like Ivan or Sam at a later date.
Yeah, I know Don asks people down when he's in Mornington down and at the shopping centre, his opening line is, "If you got any eggs frozen that I might be able to fertilise," and that it's not a great opening line, but he just keeps doing it. And one day someone will say, "Yes, come and fertilise." Although Don's had his agates cut out and he's had his prostate removed, so it'll be a big call if someone gets put up because of Don.
Well, can I tell you a quick story just about divorce? I've got a mate who married his divorce lawyer.
Wow. He got her at a susceptible moment.
No, so what happened was she represented him throughout his divorce proceedings, and she's a very smart, very talented, very beautiful woman. And then some time later, I think it was probably 2 years later, he was down at a bar in Brisbane near the Story Bridge, and he looked across the room and thought, hang on a moment, there's the lawyer that represented me during my divorce proceedings. And he walked across the room and said, who are you waiting for? And she said, I'm waiting on some mates, but they're running late. They had a drink. They fell in love. They've now got little twin boys and they're happily married. So maybe it's the divorce lawyer we need to look at.
Well, Doc, you have to take this as true. I know someone who went to a guidance counsellor for marriage and ended up going out with the guidance counsellor. And that is a fact. And he got divorced from his missus and ended up going out with the marriage counsellor. So
I'm pretty sure that there are rules against that. But then again, who are we to get involved in the relationships and the love affairs of other people, don't you think, Don? I mean, it's such an elusive quality.
You're an expert at it.
Yeah,
we're failures. Johnny and I are failures, so we'll listen to you because you're...
No, but if two people find love, regardless of their circumstances...
What is love? It's an idyllic situation that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but who are we to stand in the way of it? If you fall in love with your marriage counsellor or your divorce lawyer or someone else out there, as long as everyone's of legal age and The rest of it doesn't really count. Just do it, right?
Did you say idyllic, Don?
Idyllic situation. Idyllic situation.
Idyllic.
Leave him alone, Sam.
Oh, mate, we're speaking to a man who's got 12 words in his vocabulary and can't pronounce 10 of them.
What about the soccer? Is it creating the same enthusiasm in Sydney as it is down here?
Yeah,
Aren't
mate,
they
we're
sensational?
excited. They are so good. You know, there was a really good ad that was done overseas on women's football, and what they did, they showed this footage of some famous blokes kicking some amazing goals, and then halfway through the ad, they reveal that they've used CGI, and the players were, in fact, women scoring those amazing goals.
Sorry, CGI is what?
A computer-generated imaging, right? So this is like AI when you trick up footage. So they made it look like they were blokes when, in fact, then they show at the end of the ad they are women. And the point of the whole thing is, hey, these guys are just as talented as the blokes. And if you have a look at the interest in it, they're selling more merchandise for the Matildas than they do for the Socceroos. It's like 2-1 when it comes to the sale of women's World
Cup
Cup
much
jerseys.
better than the Socceroos. This team is world class. The Socceroos battle.
Yeah, 2 million Aussies tuned in to watch over the weekend. In fact, 2.4 million watched the game against Canada. Then we've got Denmark Monday night. And if we can beat Denmark, it's just going to be so exciting for the girls. And they did it without Sam Kerr for those first few games. So well done to the Matildas. They're on fire.
So last night, Doc, I watched the USA play Portugal. Isn't it extraordinary that we have the World Cup soccer in Australia and you can't watch any other side besides Australia?
No, England were on. They played China last night on free-to-air.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
yeah, but not all the games are on free-to-air. You've got to watch them on, what, is it Optus Sports or something like that?
You do. Have to watch them on Optus Sport. Anyhow, I watched the USA and Portugal in New Zealand. It was the biggest crowd they've ever had for any football match ever. Any football match.
Now listen, can I just share something with you guys?
Oh, is that right, Sam? Yeah, but that's extraordinary. Well done. Yes, Doc? Sorry.
Well done, Sam. Whatever point you made was absolutely brilliant. Now, can I tell you something far more interesting?
Yeah.
On our radio show, we have a segment called Dumb Crook of the Week, a dumb criminal of the week. Do you want to know this week's winner?
Dan Andrews.
No, let me share this with you.
That's quite clever, Don. Yeah, go on.
An unfaithful labourer has pleaded guilty to faking his own kidnapping in order to spend New Year's Eve with a prostitute. Paul Ira, 36, has pleaded guilty to making a false accusation, an offence that carries a maximum prison term of 7 years. He sent police on a $16,000 goose chase after he sent text messages to his partner claiming he'd been kidnapped when in reality he was with a prostitute in a granny flat. He sent a text message to his partner from his mobile phone saying, "We will keep him with us until the morning when he gives us his bike and we'll call it square. Don't worry, no one's touching him." So that was him sending the text message to his girlfriend, pretending to be the kidnapper. And when they said, "Don't worry, no one's touching him," well, as we all know, chances are someone was touching him in the granny flat. So the police then think, hang on, we've got a kidnapping case. So they then undertake a high-risk vehicle stop the next morning when they spotted his car. There was no kidnapper in there. It was just him. He was arrested. He's also now pleaded guilty to 3 unrelated charges: possessing a firearm, a prohibited weapon and ammunition. So he faked his own kidnapping to make love to an escort in a granny flat. And so he's the dumb crook of the week.
Is he from a trailer park in America?
No, this is New South Wales. This is from the Illawarra region in New South Wales.
Oh, God.
I have this written down here. This is off the wires. A man, have a listen to this, Doc. A man broke into a school. I don't know why these particular animals were in the school. Maybe it was because it was a horticultural school. Broke into a high school and had sex with a sheep and a goat. And when he was arrested in court, said that he liked going out with women, but every now and again he liked to have sex with a sheep and a goat. That was in court. I'm not sure if that's similar to getting a prostitute and faking your own kidnapping, but I'd suggest I wouldn't like to be the woman on the third in line after he'd had sex with a sheep and a goat.
That suggests someone's got a whole range of problems. I think it's fair to say. I mean, Don knows more about animals than I do because of where he lives and his interest in horses. But, how disgraceful to do that to innocent animals, Don.
So, Doc, I listened, I heard your very, very compelling interview with the Prime Minister last week.
Oh, very good. I saw that on YouTube too. You had him
thank you, Don.
Flustered.
Yes, thank you, Don.
That's all right. I'm talking over the top. This is a compliment to Ben. I thought it was terrific. You had him, Benny.
Thank you, Don.
We've already given him the compliment, and we're moving on.
Well, look,
hang on, Doc. Just a minute, Doc.
Sorry. I apologise.
No, well, you can tell me about the other thing that we've just seen that you've done, describing the fracas in the supermarket.
Oh, well, how did you see that one?
That came up on the machine. On
Facebook or something like that.
Comes up on something. I don't know. I turned it on, and there you were.
Well, the Albo thing, I mean, I think Albo's a really decent bloke. He's a decent individual. I think he's a reasonably competent politician. I just think he's got this thing horribly wrong on The Voice. I don't think he really thought it through. I think he's a vibe guy, and I don't think he really focuses a lot on the detail. And if you're going to change the Constitution and you know that the history of referendum in Australia tells you that most of the time they fail, it was just one of those confronting interviews with Albo, and I understand it's now up on YouTube as well. And I note too in Parliament yesterday, the first question of question time, Peter Dutton asked him about it to say, all right, well, you said one thing to Ben Fordham on 2GB and now you're saying another thing to everyone else. Which one is it? I'm just waiting on the next poll because I think the next poll is really going to be instructive for Anthony Albanese. I think if support for The Voice keeps on falling and falling at the rate it's fallen since the start of the year, I'm not convinced that he'll go ahead with it. I think he'll
won't pull the pin. Doc, that's a sign of embarrassment. They'll go ahead.
This is why.
But what's more? Hang on a moment. What's more embarrassing? Realising you're wrong and changing your approach, or Australia voting against Indigenous recognition in the Constitution because it's tied to Albo's idea of a voice? I mean, I'd be backing out of it before I'd be putting it up, knowing that the answer's going to be no.
This is why we pay you the big bucks, Doc, that you've been mentioned in Parliament. How privileged are we to have you even take this call? And I noticed that the Prime Minister says that gas will be now precluded from any structure that's built from 2024.
Hang on, Prime Minister or the Premier of Victoria?
No. I thought he said...
The Premier.
No, the Premier of Victoria, I think.
I thought it was a national thing that they were
CNN
going to get rid of.
You know what? And you know the interesting thing? You know that gas ban in Victoria? Somehow we broke that on our show in Sydney because someone sent me a text saying this comes from a good source in the industry. Daniel Andrews is going to ban gas in all new dwellings at 9:30 this morning. So I said that on air and I shared it with Tony Jones, who was filling in for Neil Mitchell on 3AW. And I also texted it to Neil because I thought Neil might know something. And sure enough, by 9:30 that morning, they announced it. But meanwhile, the New South Wales Premier, Chris Minns, also a Labor Premier, he was in our studio on Monday and I said, are you going to do the same? And he said, no way in the world. I mean, gas is an important part of the mix. And ask any chef about what it's like cooking with gas. It's a lot better than cooking with electricity. And if you move everyone from gas onto electricity, that puts more pressure on the electricity grid. So it seems like a very strange decision by Daniel Andrews. And you just wonder, does it have anything to do with the Commonwealth Games fiasco and the fact that he's trying to shift attention from the Commonwealth Games to something else or anything else, Sam?
We are broke down here, if you didn't realise, and I think it's a ploy to get a little bit of money back into the economy. If our gas fields in Bass Strait, if we can sell those, we get to put a little bit of money back into the economy. Well, I think they're very, very desperate, the Victorian government.
Did you notice, Doc, that the Prime Minister of England, is the Prime Minister of England Rishi Sunak?
Rishi Sunak.
Holy mackerel. Well, he has said that they are now going to recommence drilling for oil and gas in the North Sea because the other sustainable energy sources are just not producing enough to sustain society as we know it. So they're going back to drilling for oil and gas. And can I
And your good mate Donald Trump is saying the same thing. His next presidential bid, he says, is going to be based on drill.
Drill,
so
baby, drill.
Too.
How well's he going? Now, listen, Doc, this is, you talk about what our Premier's doing. I'm just going to read out these things. The Westgate Tunnel, the East-West Link, which is a freeway, the City Loop, the Melbourne Arts Project, the Hoddle Street Upgrade, the North-East Link, the Metro Tunnel and the Frankston Hospital. They are in a combined total of $200 billion over budget. $200 billion over budget. That's not what it costs. That's how much they are over budget. So
and his excuse,
you wonder why we are drifting into the ether.
And his excuse is that they haven't got a crystal ball, so they can't see into the future when they're making their budgets.
You know why everything. The reason everything goes over budget. The reason everything goes over budget is because people underquote when they are quoting on how much the job will cost, because they want to land the contract, right? So everyone plays down the potential costs and they say, right, I reckon we can deliver this for $3 billion. And so the government of the day goes, all right, well, let's go with that guy because he reckons he can do it for $3 billion, where the others are saying 4 and 5. And then they get the contract, and then after getting the contract and starting the work, they go, oh, hang on a moment, we've got some cost blowouts here, it's going to cost you 7. So that's what happens when you're always relying on consultants, when you believe people when they come in with the most affordable price to do a job. Because you think about it at your own place. You want to go with someone who's going to be realistic. If you're doing some renovations, you don't want to go with a bloke who says, oh, look, I'm going to be able to do all of this for under $1,000. You want to go with the person who says, you know what, there's no way in the world that you're going to get out of this for under $3,000. Right?
Absolutely spot on, Doc. You elected not to answer my previous question about the fracas in the supermarket. What happened there?
Oh, yeah.
With the...
Well, look, that was filmed in a Woolworths supermarket at Tamworth in northern New South Wales. And look, we've seen many supermarket blow-ups, but the reason this one really stood out is because 2 women were going hammer and tong, belting the living daylights out of each other near aisle 6. And then someone else spots it. She obviously knew one of them, and she wanted to get involved, but she had a baby in her hand at the time. So, hold my baby. She passed over the baby to someone else to say, hang on to the baby, so I can throw some punches as well. So, yeah, it was one of those cases that just went berserk, and the videos now had millions of views on YouTube.
And wasn't there, when I saw it, there seemed to be 2 blokes standing watching it. You'd think they might have stepped in and tried to...
you'd think you'd step in and settle it down and say,
girls, please.
Yeah, and one of them was holding one of those beautiful barbecue chickens as well that you get from Woolies. So, don't get the chicken involved. Now, listen, can I just read you another case? And this is a real case, right? Aussie man pinched mother's nipple, sent sexual text, caught here. So I just want to read you this. An Aussie mum was left disturbed and unsettled after her 28-year-old son came up behind her and pinched her nipple before sending explicit messages and photos. Sydney's Downing Centre Court heard the man, who cannot be named for legal reasons, was living with his mother when the disgusting incident occurred. According to agreed facts, he drank a significant amount of Jack Daniels and Coke before arriving home. His mother had gotten out of the shower and asked him to rub sunscreen on the top of her back. As she walked away, the towel fell slightly. The man reached around her and pinched her left nipple. And he then sent her text messages saying, don't tell anyone, rubbing that sunscreen on you was arousing. Now, this bloke is now in all sorts of trouble because his mum has taken him to police. And I love this quote. I love this quote from his lawyer. His lawyer says that he admits he did the wrong thing. He said he let his mother down something chronic. That's the quote from the lawyer.
Yeah.
He says he let his mother down something chronic.
Yeah, an educated lawyer. That's
You
fantastic.
can get into trouble for sucking on nipples now. There was a well-known identity who got into a little bit of trouble last week for sucking on a lady's nipples.
Oh, yeah, that was the former first bloke of Australia, Tim Matheson.
I'd love to know how he did it.
How
I was intrigued by that. case as well. I mean, this has got nothing to do with Julia Gillard, the former Prime Minister, because she hasn't been with Tim Matheson for years. But yeah, he pleaded guilty in a case, and based on the allegations, he sucked someone's nipple without consent. I don't know.
What circumstance?
I was bamboozled by that. I don't know.
I'm bamboozled as well. I was just trying to think of the various not connotations, but situations that they got themselves into.
Well, hang on a minute. He didn't just go up and... this is not in Parliament or on the beach.
It's on court. He went to court over it.
Surely they
but we don't know. What you're saying, what you're getting to, Sam, is we don't know the location. They haven't said the location. So
surely they've been
was it in an establishment of some sort? Was it in a private setting? Was it on the street? I don't think it was on the street. And if you're in a private setting, one would presume that if any of that activity is happening, it would be between two consenting adults. So it points to the incident happening somewhere else. So I don't know where it could have happened.
A little bit of nip
two
sucking.
other charges were dropped, so I don't know if there's much in it, is there?
Oh, well, you can't go sucking someone's nipple without consent, Don.
What do you ask them?
No, that's not quite right, Doc. It can be a tacit agreement. You can look someone in the eyes and you can put purse the old lips over the nips and do a bit of a suck. And
please,
and they don't have to actually sign a thing saying I give you consent. It'd be a tacit agreement that it's okay because we're having a bit of revelry.
Yeah,
and merriment.
sure, but on this case, the other party is very clearly saying there was no consent when it came to the nipple suck.
How would she have her nipples out in the first place? Did she?
I don't know, Sam.
I
don't know.
That's what they're
now, listen, I've got an idea. I've got an idea for the podcast, right? Because I know that you're about to wrap me up and I've got to go as well. But I've got an idea. Is there a marriage counsellor listening right now? And would a marriage counsellor be willing to come into the studio to record a special edition of You Cannot Be Serious where you try and sort out some of the niggling disagreements that seem to plague the relationship between Samuel Newman and Don Scott? Because, I know it's part of the fun and banter of the podcast, but you tend to get on each other's nerves about microphones and noises and repetition and everything else. So don't you think it would be entertaining for us listeners to have a marriage counsellor in there and say, okay, Sam, first of all, tell me what you like about Don. Don, you do the same. And now, Sam, if you were to be honest, what frustrates you about Don? Don't you think that would be great?
Is it Don listens and retains nothing of any conversation we have over the weeks? I say we spoke about that last week. He said, no, we didn't. He said, you've got something wrong with you. We go on and on. I ask him every week for 2 years to speak into the microphone. He eats on the microphone. He doesn't he doesn't listen to answers. He butts in. He talks. What do you mean what frustrates me about him? How we keep doing this has got me buggered.
Do you see what I mean, Don?
Oh, well,
we don't need a marriage counsellor. We need a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I think they provide medication.
Doc, if I may, do you know how you started to come onto this podcast? Do you know what the premise of you coming on this podcast was?
Oh, no, I can't even remember.
I'll tell you. You said, you rang me and you said, I tell you what, mate, I listen to your podcast, I love it, but Don needs to have a psychoanalyst. He said, I need to come on. Is that true or not?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's the only reason you came on this. You said, I need to just speak to this man because he is off the planet.
So what is your prognosis, Doc?
No, I said to Sam, I said he's actually a genius, this bloke, because he knows exactly what he's doing and he's quietly driving you mad. And that's exactly what happened. So if you are a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a therapist, and you would like to come into the studio and to sort out some of the problems, then we would all find it very seriously entertaining. So please get in contact with Sam via his many social media channels.
That's I'm wanting this. A genius, you got to be joking. He's an absolute performing buffoon.
Yeah, but it would be a great listen, and let's face it, that's all you guys care about. You just want to entertain people. You want people to be happy. There's not enough smiles that go around in the world.
Doc, you're a star. And when you mention in Parliament, mate, I tell you what, you've just about outgrown us. You've just about outgrown us. So very nice to have you on board.
Never. All right, love you, boys. I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Good boy. All the best.
Okay. Bye-bye.
No, I think he's off. I'm not sure.
Hit the music.
Shut up. He's off now, so we'll...
That's it. I need a coffee.
Just a minute, Don, please. What we'll do is we'll just speak about one or two other things.
Oh, geez.
Because we've got a Olympic star.
Oh, really?
Coming in to be interviewed.
Who?
We'll just wait till he gets here before I announce who it is, in case he has been told he shouldn't come in. I was just going to mention Ian Cook before we finish, and then we'll just go to the next segment. Right?
I thought he was coming in this morning, Ian Cook. Would you turn your phone down? Who's that?
No, I can't. I didn't turn the phone off, and that's someone just ringing on a private call. So
God.
Hang on, shut up.
Oh,
that's
so
not my
unprofessional.
So come and turn this off, Sue, please. That could be anyone.
Can't you turn the phone off? At least I can turn the phone
Ian
off.
Cook.
Yeah, are you supposed to be on this morning?
Well, I'm telling you why he's not. Or will we do this in another segment?
I think so. I'd love a coffee.
Oh, fuck. Oh, sorry. All right. Well, that's it.